Hello, you're listening to Storytelling Saga, the podcast that shares stories. I'm your host, Allie, and this week I'm discussing A Garfield Christmas Special, written by Jim Davis and directed by Phil Roman and George Singer. I've never seen this before, and oh my god, it was so heartwarming. It made me tear up. It's so sweet, and I really, really enjoyed it. And I grew up watching Garfield, like Garfield and Friends, when it was in syndication on Nickelodeon. And now there's been so many iterations of the character of Garfield, of course, starting with the comic strip created by Jim Davis. And actually, I had a book with a bunch of Garfield comics in it. I remember at one point when I was younger reading them with my cousin, like she was reading them to me, and I remember genuinely cracking up because it's just kind of like that slice of life humor, the classic deadpan, dry humor from Garfield, and then his owner, John Arbuckle, as this happy-go-lucky guy, but also kind of like a bit of a doof, you know what I mean? Like a bit of a unlucky in love and just that kind of stuff, but so cheerful and just genuinely a good guy. Like he's a great owner to Garfield, of course, and Odie. Odie's so cute too, always so loving and excited. And then of course Garfield just kind of, wanting his space and just wanting to lie around and sleep. And of course everything, the two main things everyone knows about Garfield. He hates Mondays and he loves lasagna. What like a random thing of coming up with, okay, so like this overweight orange cat. It's like, what's the thing he's gonna love? Oh, lasagna. Why not? Oh my god, that's just, just a fun little character trait that everyone knows about Garfield. And of course, there's also Nermal too. I remember Nermal from the comic book as well, who of course is not in this Christmas special though. But it's just so cute. I also remember Garfield from every year we used to watch. It was, what was it called again? I think I brought it up on this podcast before, called like All Star, what's it called? It's that drug PSA thing, Cartoon All Stars to the Rescue. That's it. Yeah, the anti-drug PSA that we would watch every year in our health class from like in elementary school all the way through middle school. And so I remember Garfield is in that too. And that's like a whole crossover with a bunch of other iconic 80s cartoon characters. And obviously the 80s were kind of a low point for Western animation at the time because a lot of it was just, the whole point was them selling toys. So really the 90s, of course, was the resurgence for all of these classic cartoons from our childhood, But Garfield obviously is a huge franchise. There's been so many movies. There's going to be another movie, and Chris Pratt is going to be voicing Garfield because it's not enough that he's voicing Mario and ruining that character. Not to be, a downer, but, it's like, really? But that's the whole studio nonsense. Whatever. That's a whole separate thing, obviously. I know, of course, there was also Bill Murray had voiced Garfield in, like, those live action Garfield movies, which is, like, ridiculous, so funny. So, whatever. There's been so many versions of Garfield, and obviously Garfield and Friends was like the big show at the time after the comics, but this special was so sweet and I really loved it. And I had wanted to watch it because after Pat Carroll had passed away this year, sadly, rest in peace, of course, she was the voice of Ursula in The Little Mermaid, but in this special she voices Grandma. And the clip went around of her giving that whole monologue with Garfield in her lap and just talking about her dearly departed husband. And it made me tear up then when I first watched it, and it made me tear up now watching it in the context of the entire special. And it was just so sweet and just felt so real. It felt like that was someone's grandma telling that story about their grandpa, and it just was, oh my goodness, it made me nostalgic, made me miss my grandparents too. This whole thing made me feel nostalgic of just going to my grandparents' house every year for Christmas Eve, and actually even after they had passed, after my grandma passed, and then after my grandpa had passed as well, we all went there one last time, all of us, to their house before we eventually sold the house. But it was just, all you can want of just pure love and joy. So I cherish all of those family memories growing up, Christmas Eve, doing all of that with my cousins and my aunts and uncles and all of us exchanging gifts. And it's just true joy and that's what the holidays are all about. As Garfield says, it's not about giving or getting, it's about loving. That's so true. And obviously Garfield being his, like, typical sourpuss throughout most of this, like with his little quips, but then immediately bonding with Grandma, which is sweet. And the opening is great. I could tell right away, it's like, oh, this must be a dream sequence. Like John giving him a tray, like leading him with a tray of lasagnas to the tree. And then the whole thing with, okay, you put this cap on and you could just imagine anything you want. What a thing. I can't imagine as a kid, that would have been amazing to just dream up any gift you want and it just appears out of thin air. Too funny. But oh my goodness. I just think it's so funny though. I've always found this odd. Like, it's just so weird that Garfield doesn't move his mouth when he talks. So it's like he interacts with John and everyone. To me, it's not necessarily clear if they can hear him. I guess not, because it's like he's thinking it, obviously. And even in the comics, I distinctly remember that he doesn't have speech balloons. He had little like thought bubbles. Like, I do remember that too. So it's him thinking the whole time, like whenever he speaks. So it's like just like his inner monologue that we, the audience, hear and everything. So it's too funny. And obviously Odie doesn't speak. Gotta love Odie. Of course, you gotta love that dynamic between Garfield and Odie. And Nermal too. I just like I always found that stuff with Nermal funny too. So it's too bad Nermal's not in this. Is Nermal like Garfield's cousin? I don't even remember. Should I look it up real quick? Why not? Garfield's Nermal. I don't remember offhand. Yes, she's a gray kitty. Garfield is jealous of Nermal. She annoys Garfield. So wait, is she his cousin though, or is she just like a friend? I don't even know. What's it say here? Oh yeah, so Garfield's nemesis. Oh, and also apparently Nermal is meant to be a male cat, saying that Jim Davis often gives younger characters eyelashes, including Garfield himself. Oh, in the Garfield segment of Garfield, His 9 Lives. Okay, whatever. So fans often mistake Nermal for a female kitten because of his eyelashes. Oh, so I guess it's a boy. Okay, I misremembered that too. I guess it doesn't matter. So whatever. So Garfield's nemesis. That's too funny. So obviously in this special we see all of John's family, his mom, his dad, his brother Doc Boy, what a name, and of course Grandma. I guess Grandma is meant to be John's dad's mom, I guess. Not really clear, and I guess it doesn't really matter, but there's just such a sweet, loving family. The mom's so happy to see him, so cute, and John like so excited, reminiscing about being a kid and him with his brother. And it's like they have that childlike joy throughout, but then even though they're adults, because it's just like, it's so sweet, like them trimming the tree and singing and of course eating. It's too funny too, like when the dad says, oh, Grandma, like, you're eating a lot. She's like, yeah, well, I'm eating for 2 now. And then his eyes widen, like, wait a minute, like, as if insinuating she's pregnant. That's too funny. Oh, goodness. But of course, she's just feeding Garfield and Odie secretly under the table. The one thing I will say, though, about this, and it's not necessarily a bad thing, is that in terms of just a half hour of TV, that there's not really necessarily any conflict in this special, I would say, other than just kind of like the small moments of Grandma being a little bit bitter here and there, but it's only because clearly it's like she's covering up the fact that she misses her husband. That's just so sweet. It's like when she opens up to Garfield. But just like, her putting the chili powder secretly in the sausage gravy, and the mom catches her. It's like, oh, you're not doing that, are you? It's like, no, of course not. Then as soon as she leaves, she does it, saying like, well, I won the blue ribbon, not that yours did, so like, what do you have to tell me about? Like, well, I know better than you. So too funny. Little sassy Grandma. It's too cute. Oh goodness. And even like teasing John, like, oh, you're a city boy now, you're getting soft, and like, here, like, feel my abs, I do all these crunches in the morning, sit-ups in the morning. Too funny. So it's just kind of like small, it's like little moments in the episode, just like little vignettes of just like things throughout the night of getting ready for Christmas Eve and Christmas morning and everything. So it's just really cute, plugging in the tree, and Garfield's impressed by that, despite all of his quips throughout of, not really being excited to go in the first place, but then bonding with Grandma. I really liked that. And then, of course, her whole speech about Grandpa, so sweet, how he was just kind of not really affectionate, but then on Christmas, saying like, oh, he gave it away in his eyes, like just the true joy. And that's just so sweet. And then how she says that this is the time of year she misses him the most. And then, of course, when Garfield finds those turns out to be those old love letters when he was courting her in the early days of their relationship. And then she's just like giggling as if she's like young and in love again. It's just so sweet and so adorable. And then of course Odie presents his gift to Garfield, which is so cute too. Like, oh, it made me smile like the back scratcher. He's like, Odie, sometimes, you, whatever he says, you amaze me, or that's not what he said, but it's just very cute. Like, you're really something. Oh, it's too cute, and he hugs him. Oh, so, like, the little sentiments that deep down Garfield's a softie, too, So, oh, goodness, it was just really adorable. I really, really loved it. It was so cute. Also, like, John and his brother getting excited when their dad's gonna read the storybook, and when they're like, yay, like that big, like when their mouths open, like all the expressions, so cute. Obviously, everyone with like those big bulbous eyes, like just like, the art style of Garfield and all the characters. It's too cute. And then when they wake up the dad, it's like, oh, Dad, it's Christmas morning. It's like, it's 1:30. Well, technically that's Christmas morning. It's like, no, go back to sleep. Too cute. So just really, really sweet and very wholesome. And, just a fantastic little Christmas special. And goodness, really cute. I really, really loved it. All the music was really cute throughout, too. And I just, goodness, it's so sweet with Grandma and just like with Garfield in her lap, petting him. Oh my goodness, so cute. So I love that despite Garfield's curmudgeonly exterior, that deep down he is a softie. That's just really, really sweet. And with that, that's going to conclude this week's episode of Storytelling Saga. Be sure to visit storytellingsaga.com for all places to listen and where to follow on social media. And as always, feel free to send me any questions, comments, or writing prompts by emailing me at storytellingsaga@gmail.com. Next episode, I thought I'd discuss another Christmas special. I will be discussing the classic, The Little Drummer Boy. Until then, thank you for listening, and remember, write what you love.